Hey everybody, it's me, Jill, and welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of the Real Housewives of New Jersey, Season 9, Episode 9, Communion and Confession. Well, we are back in Jersey, baby. This episode starts off with Teresa and Melania having a conversation. We get a close-up of Melania's nails, and they are like crazy, colorful daggers. I know I don't have a popular opinion about this because, you know, she's only 12, and I don't love that a 12-year-old has these acrylic nails or gel nails, whatever they are. But I do feel like it is a rather harmless way for a kid to express herself if said kid needs to express herself. You know what I mean? All the girls have been through a lot, but Melania has always been a wild child. And if this is what she's doing instead of, like, you know, getting high with her friends or something, I'm okay with it. I think it's pretty harmless. And I also don't think it's going to last because it's hard to maintain those nails. Like right now in this scene, she can't even tie her own shoes. So I think she's going to get real tired of them. I would just let it ride out, you know? Pick your battles. We also see Olivia screaming bloody murder over at Jennifer's house. This opening is a bunch of little like fast cut scenes because we also see Margaret at her house. My lady, what are you doing? Growing the coffee beans. And then we see Dolores and Frank at their house, and Dolores comes in and they kiss, and then she kind of walks over to get some coffee or something. And Frank's like, whoa, what was that? That's like kissing my grandmother. How are you supposed to kiss your ex-wife, Frank? Open mouth? What did he want? Anyway, Dolores is like, you know, because she's still mad at him because he didn't tell her about the disbarment, but he told the kids. Jackie and Melissa have lunch together, and they're talking about Joey's communion, and Jackie is concerned that Teresa will start something with her there. And Melissa's like, well, I don't know, because we get a flashback to Joey's christening and Teresa and her brother just having a knockdown drag out, screaming at each other. And oh my God, you guys, it's so sad because Gia is trying to pull her mom away and Teresa's just not even paying attention to her. It's, oh my God, it breaks my heart. Anyway, the next scene is Jennifer and her mother, and they are going to Giovanni. Thank you, Giovanni. They are going to Giovanni to shop for dresses for Melda, who is the woman in Turkey who is going to be marrying her brother. I guess in the Turkish tradition, the groom's family provides the promise of engagement party, and then along with that, they have gifts for the fiance, like dresses and jewels and Louboutins. So anyway, they're picking out dresses for her. And while they're in the store having a conversation, Jennifer brings up to her mother that the problem with marrying men in our culture is that they are the providers and then we're expected to do everything else. Bill provided me with such a good life. I have to do everything without complaining. The look on Jennifer's mother's face is priceless. She goes, you complain. You always complain. You are complaining right now. And Jennifer goes, well, yeah, of course I complain. All Bill does is tell me that I spoil the children and that I don't discipline them. Yeah, he would know. And we, the viewers, have not seen anything to dispute that claim. So, yeah. The next scene is with Melania and Teresa. And Teresa has taken her to the studio because Melania is going to become a rapper. Actually, it's sort of cute. She went to go see this rapper. She loves him. I cannot remember the name. So this rapper and the singer are there, and they're helping her with this song, I guess. Teresa said to the confession cam that Melania, probably more than any of the other girls, is having the hardest time adjusting to Joe not being there. And, here's what I like about this scene. Of course she's struggling. I'm shocked that the other girls aren't showing more evidence of what this does to a family. I mean, their mother was in prison for almost a year. They just lost a grandmother who they were very, very close to. Then their father goes to prison for 3-some years. And do you think they're just going to get through that without, I don't know, getting made fun of at school or, having people harass them online? And honestly, I would expect it to be much worse than this. And again, if her acting out is long fake nails, fine by me. So anyway, Teresa thinks that this sort of an outlet for her, and I think it's great. And I hope it is. I hope she gets enjoyment from it and it provides her with some sort of a release of all the emotions she's feeling. For as little sympathy as I have for Teresa and her husband, I have tons of sympathy for the kids. They didn't ask for any of it. But I applaud this scene, and I applaud Teresa for at least mentioning that Melania is struggling through this, because that feels about the most real to me as any other scene on this whole show. Then we have a scene with Frank and Joe Gorga having lunch together. I basically think the reason for this whole scene was so that Frank could remind Joe that, at his deathbed, he's not going to wish he worked more. He's going to wish he had more time with family, so he should see his dad more. Joe agrees. Teresa just should have had Frank talk to him in the first place. Skip Melissa, just go right to Frank Catania, because that seemed to work. Okay, the next scene is at a place in New York City where Margaret is having a photo shoot. I guess she's updating her portfolio or her website for her brand. I guess it hasn't been done in a while, so she's updating all the photos. And the photographer is Brett, one of her stepsons. Now, if you guys remember last season, she talked about how her ex-husband Jan's children did not speak to her anymore since she left their dad, had an affair with Joe B, left their dad for him, and then married him. So, yeah, I get it. Anyway, this one son of Jan's is speaking to her, and that's Brett, and he's the photographer for this photo shoot. They have a little sit down and talk, which provides us with a little backstory so that we know that Brett doesn't speak to his father. Hasn't seen him since his grandmother's funeral. Margaret thinks she's going to get Jan and Brett back together again. Like, is she not making the connection that the one child that speaks to her is the one that doesn't have a good relationship with his father, so probably didn't care that she cheated on his father? I mean, that sort of seemed like a no-brainer to me, but I don't know. I will say this. Jan has forgiven Margaret, and Jan and Margaret seem to have a relationship. He was on the show last season. So I do feel like if their dad can forgive her, then his children should be able to forgive her because, If I didn't know that Margaret was very close to them while she was married to their dad, almost raised them, then I would say they don't have to have a relationship with their dad's second wife, who then cheated on their dad. Like, leave them alone. They don't have to be in your life. But it is a little bit sad to me because I feel like she was kind of a mom to them. And just for the kids' sake, even though, I know they're adults now, but just for their sake, I think if they could forgive her and have a relationship with her, they would be happier. Okay, now it is the day of the communion, and Dolores and Frank are in the kitchen again. And Frank says to her, did you read the paper this morning? And she goes, no, why, what? And he said, there's an article called, Does Giving Too Many Gifts Create Spoiled Children? And it's written by Jackie. He starts reading it a little bit, and you can tell it's Jennifer. And so Dolores immediately calls Jennifer and asks her if she saw the article Jackie wrote. She did not. She says you can look at it online, and Jennifer does it, and then Jennifer gets really, really mad. You think? Jennifer on the phone says, I am shaking right now. Just because I have a really big house doesn't mean my kids get everything they want. But they do. They do get everything they want. It might not be because of the size of your house. It's because you don't say no. Ask your husband. Jackie may have consulted him for the article. So Jennifer's really pissed. And Dolores goes, well, if that's how you feel, you should tell her. Okay, I'll see you later at the steakhouse for the communion party. Then she hangs up and Frank said, oh, it just went from a really pleasant day to this mess. Dolores, I'm not in the mood for another fight. Really? Then why did you call her? Come on, Dolores. You know you did not have to let Jennifer know before the communion party, right? All right, so now it's time for the party. The Gorgas show up first, and it's at Rails. Who owns Rails? Either it's the only restaurant in New Jersey, or they are sponsoring the show, or somebody owns it that is affiliated with this show. Because we're at Rails again. Anyway, everybody starts showing up. Joey's a little bratty, I will say. He might be hopped up on donuts. That was the first thing he grabbed when he walked in, and you know, he's kind of running around crazy. There's a cute scene with Teresa and Frank Catania where they're talking about the fitness competition. And I think it's cute because he's really helping her out. He's like, well, let's see, how you working? Oh, yeah, your muscles feel good. She's like, yeah, I think my upper body's okay, but I'm worried about my legs and my lower. And he goes, well, let's see, turn around. Oh, okay. And she turns around and goes, no, looks good, looks good. And she's like, I'm just so nervous. And he said, well, don't freak out because that will raise your cortisone levels and that keeps you from getting defined. Oh, no. Okay, I'm fine. I'm good. I did think it was sort of cute the way he was helping her with advice. Okay, so now Jennifer arrives, and Jennifer and Teresa are talking. And the first thing she asks is, oh, so how is Bimini? And I got to tell you something. Everybody who has been to Bimini and been asked about it from somebody who wasn't has a very similar reaction. Like, it was fine. Like Teresa goes, it was interesting. It was your friend's wedding. Shouldn't it have been beautiful or romantic or magical? No, none of that. I mean, we know it was none of that, but I'm just saying, like, if I didn't know and I was one of their friends and asking how it was and they paused and said it was interesting, I'd be like, oh God, what happened? Anyway, then Jennifer tells Teresa about the article that Jackie wrote. You know, she asks, did you hear about it? And Teresa goes, no. And she tells her she wrote an article about how I'm spoiling my children. Not exactly, but okay. That's her interpretation. Teresa goes, oh my God. But she's smiling. Jennifer's like, I feel so betrayed. Anyway, Jackie walks in now to the place and she's trying to avoid Teresa. She does not know she needs to avoid Jennifer yet because she doesn't know Jennifer read the article or knows about the article. So she thinks she just needs to kind of steer clear of Teresa. Dolores to the confession cam says, Jackie's acting like she has no idea that Teresa and Jennifer are unhappy with her. I wouldn't want one of them unhappy with me, let alone two of them. Side note, who is doing the lighting or makeup for Dolores's confessionals? Danielle? It's definitely somebody that doesn't like Dolores. It's very harsh. So anyway, now Jackie walks over to Jennifer and says hello to her, and Jennifer's acting a little cool. So Jackie said, is everything okay? And she's like, oh yeah, fine. So Jackie starts to talk about Teresa, and she goes, oh, I feel so awkward because I'm trying to avoid Teresa because of what happened with us. So she goes on and on about Teresa. So Jennifer says, yes, but don't you believe that we shouldn't talk about husbands or children? Side note, when did we determine that husbands are off limits, right? Children, I understand, but the husbands are adults and they made a decision to be on this show. I'm sure they signed a release, so they have agreed to be on camera. The kids, no, I get that. Kids don't have too much say in, as to whether or not their family does this thing. But as far as I'm concerned, husbands are fair game. Right, Shane? You guys, wouldn't it be funny if Shane was still watching Jill Informed? Like, even though I'm not recapping Orange County anymore. Hi, Shane. I hope you're still out there. So anyway, Jennifer says, don't you think husbands and children should be off limits? And Jackie goes, well, yeah, but Jennifer cuts her off. Then why did you write about how my children are spoiled? Well, that did catch her off guard for a second. You could see the wheels turning for just a second. Jackie did not know how to respond to that. But then she said, did I say anything that wasn't true? And Jennifer said, well, I saw a lot of judgment there. And Jackie goes, did you really? I didn't write your name. I didn't say one negative thing about your children. And Jennifer said, well, it sounded negative. Now, I read the article. I don't know if you guys did. I'm going to see if I can maybe link it below in my description box. Otherwise, you can Google it. It's pretty easy to find. It's not that long. So the reality is she didn't mention her name, but it reminded me of like a blind item. This reality celebrity who's has a huge house with a gymnasium and, it's not hard to figure out that it's Jennifer, but it's true. She doesn't use her name and she does say that her children were delightful and she broaches it like a question. Can children who are given everything in life grow up to be like responsible, caring adults? I know you guys have opinions about this and you will let me know in the comments, I'm sure. I will just say, I think I'm finally getting what Jackie does. She pushes right up against the boundaries without crossing a boundary. But because there's so much conjecture and innuendo, it gets people really fired up and angry, then she can fall back on, but I never really said anything wrong. Because she doesn't exactly. I'm realizing now she did this with Teresa. By mentioning Joe being in prison, she was making a point. But as it was pointed out to me by one of you guys, she definitely could have used another comparison that would have been less volatile and gotten the same point across. She's doing it again here with this article that doesn't mention Jennifer's name and it doesn't say that her kids are spoiled, but rather it wonders if they could be. Also, it's not flattering. Like I said, I read it and it isn't exactly damning, but it's also not flattering. And I think she knows that. It appears to me that Jackie likes to poke people. As a viewer, I'm not exactly mad at that. Some people need to be poked. So, pass the popcorn. I'm here for it. Anyway, back to the show. Jackie is trying to convince Jennifer that the article was actually very complimentary. It was not. We cut over to where Teresa and Melissa are talking, and Teresa said she should have called her first. And you know what? Out of the mouths of babes, she's right. If she really thought it was complimentary, she would have called her first. So now Margaret shows up to the party and comes up to Teresa and Melissa, and Teresa says to her, did you read the article? Right away. I mean, it is the hot topic. Sorry, Joey. Your relationship with God is not the most important thing here. So Margaret goes, what? No, what article? What did it say? Here's how Teresa sums it up. It's an article about how Jennifer spoils her children. Okay, this is like that game of telephone again. That's not exactly what it's about, but this is what the takeaway is. Here's what I have to say, too. Sorry, I'm fired up, guys. To Jennifer, you know what's even worse than the article that Jackie wrote? You and Bill agreeing to be part of the Real Housewives of New Jersey and opening up and showing us your home life. Jackie might have hinted or implied that you might spoil your children, but you outright showed us that you do. You let us into your home and you walked us step by step through how you actually spoil your children. I don't think you spoil your children because of Jackie's article. I think you spoil your children because of what I've seen with my own eyes on my TV. I don't know how you don't understand that. You're the reason why millions of people think your children are spoiled, not the 100,000 that read Jackie's article. You let cameras in the room while your husband accused you of spoiling the children, and your response was, it's easier to just give them what they want. You said that, not Jackie. What do you want to bet Bill has cut this article out, and he probably has it framed in his office at work? Well, I said all along that she doesn't discipline the children. So anyway, back to Jennifer and Jackie. The bottom line is Jennifer is saying, I can say I spoil my children, but you can't. So then this guy on a microphone is making a big announcement for the party, and Jennifer tells Jackie, this is not over yet. Later, Margaret and Jackie sit down to talk. And Jackie's pretty adamant that she does not want to apologize to Teresa until Teresa apologizes for screaming at her. Jackie says, I didn't attack her husband's character or anything like that. I was making a valid point. This was funny. Margaret goes, listen, I argue in analogies all the time, so I know exactly where you're coming from. Yeah. Last season, Hitlergate, we know you argue in analogies. So she says, so of course I understood what you meant, but it's all about control. If she would have said, look, this is happening to me right now. This is my family's biggest pain. And Jackie said, yes, of course. I would have backed off and said I was so sorry. I'm 100% into having a conversation with Teresa, but I feel like we're going to have a conversation and she's going to go savage on me. Yeah, I'd say that's a safe bet. So she tells Margaret she doesn't want any more drama that day, and she asks her if she saw the article that she wrote. And Margaret said, no, I didn't see it. Why is Jennifer so mad? And this was interesting because then Jackie's interpretation is Jennifer's mad because in the article, I make it out to seem like she's a snob. Does Jackie really think that's what Jennifer's mad about? That she's coming off like a snob? I didn't get that impression. I thought it was really about the children, but I mean, I don't know. Anyway, Melissa now joins them and Jackie pulls up the article on her phone and she reads it to them. So to the confession cam, Margaret says, is everything in that article true? Absolutely. Would I have written it? Maybe not. Is it a little shady? Yes, but it's hilarious. Jackie ends up saying, look, if you don't want me to write about it, don't fucking do it. I don't know if I agree with that. I feel like not everything your friends say to you should be fodder for your next article. I get that she's like in the parenting genre, but I feel like your friends should either be off limits or they should be given the courtesy of talking to them about it first or showing them the article first or something like that. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I'm going to have to think about that one some more. On the one hand, I understand that this is where her inspiration comes from. Her real life. That's what she's writing these articles about. But on the other hand, I feel like if you're a personal friend, you should be able to think that you can speak freely in front of your friend and not have everything be on the record. You know? Let's do a poll question. What do you guys think? Should conversations between friends be fair game or off limits? Let me know. So I see a real division forming within this group of ladies. It seems pretty clear that we are getting a real Jackie, Melissa, Margaret in one camp and Dolores, Teresa, and Jennifer in the other camp. Jackie's definitely, she's ruffling some feathers, man. I like that she doesn't care. I sincerely hope it doesn't mean that she doesn't get to come back because she didn't bow to the queen, Teresa. I will say this, one thing that I really like about Margaret is that from the very beginning, I also felt like Margaret said what she wanted and didn't care. I mean, last season was Margaret's first, and I don't know if you remember this, but she was brought on because she was a friend of Siggy, and then she and Siggy had the biggest blow up ever. And this season, I like that she isn't shunning Jackie. I hope I don't eat those words. I hope Margaret stays true to herself like that, because I think it's pretty cool. It shows this confidence in her that is like, I love it. I envy it. So anyway, this little group of Jennifer and Dolores and Teresa are sitting by the fire, and Jennifer tells them, I had words with Jackie, and I don't know, she's all, this one can't control her husband and this one can't control her children. I wonder who her next victim will be. What? First of all, this one can't control her husband, that was not a diss from Jackie. Jackie was trying to make the point that nobody can control their husbands. Nobody can really control another adult. That was her point. She wasn't criticizing someone for not being able to control their husband. It's just a show. I'm always telling you guys that. It's just a show. But I really get frustrated when people twist things around like that. Meanwhile, with the other group of ladies, Jackie is telling them that she would like to have a talk with Teresa and try and get things resolved. And Melissa's like, but not right now, right? She's still like shell-shocked from Joey's christening years ago, so she definitely doesn't want a repeat. And Jackie's like, no, at another time. I'm gonna go try and find her and set something up. Just as the other three that are sitting by the fire are, dissing her, Jackie walks up behind them and she says to Teresa, can I talk to you for a minute? I'm sorry, guys. Do you mind if I grab her for a second? And they're like, no. And Dolores is I gotta go get something to eat anyway. And Jennifer goes off somewhere. Where are all the children, by the way? Jennifer came to this thing alone with 5 children, and she hasn't had a child next to her this entire time. How does that work? I remember when my daughter was little and I couldn't have a conversation without her tugging on me wanting something. So I would love to know how that works, where you can walk into a party with 5 children and not see them until it's time to go home. Anyway, the others leave and she pulls Teresa aside and she asks her if they can talk. And Teresa's like, well, not here. This is my nephew's communion. And she goes, no, not here. I'm just want to know that if I call you sometime, you're going to pick up the phone. And Teresa goes, yeah. Wow. That wasn't that convincing, but okay. So she said, okay, so thanks, I'll call you sometime. So they walk away. In the confessional, Teresa said, is she delusional? If she thinks this is going to be a nice sit down, she's got another thing coming. Okay, friends, that is where this one ends. Okay, now it's time for viewer mail. I would like to start by welcoming some new subscribers to Jill Informed. We have Donna Johnston, Leonardo Decapitated, Bucky Dare, Suzanne Batnovic, Jessica Beatrice, Bernadette Grouse, Abigail Peck, Diana Zins, Steph VV, Topper Whiteway, Lisa J, Hello Kitty MN, Paulette Mainville, Laura Livingstone, Carol Archuleta, Tamrock Lit, Trissy Pierce, Vicky RB, Audiologist Allie, Sam P, The Kerns, Acapella Z1, Antonella, Crystal Blanco, Leanne DeSessa, and Rosemary Peguero. Thank you guys so much and welcome. And also to those of you who subscribed but have kept your names private, thank you to you as well. And the viewer question today comes from Anna York. I answered Anna's question in the comments section already, but I wanted to elaborate on it a little bit. And also, I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention because not only did I love the question, but I loved the way the question was worded. What she wrote is this: Jackie's analogy about the husbands was a bit of a low blow, don't you think? I would liken that analogy to Jackie asking why Teresa couldn't control her children or mentioning Nono's inability to control Joe. Had Jackie asked something in the neighborhood of, Teresa, if we could truly control one another, you could easily persuade Melissa to speak with Joe, right? Looking at it from that angle, what are your thoughts? And then she said, Jackie is a very new acquaintance who spoke crudely and out of turn by interjecting herself into a family quarrel. Perhaps I'm touchy, but I think Jackie went a tad too far. An apology, or at least an acknowledgement, i.e., I shouldn't have said that, produces the best outcome for her, in my opinion. She'd be the new girl who isn't afraid of and stood her ground with Teresa, but with class, making her even more likable, interesting, and authentic. A keeper. Like I said, I already replied. I found it insightful. I thought it was well written. I thought it was thought-provoking. And I love that kind of stuff. I know that sometimes we can get trapped in this mentality of, if you're not ride or die, then you're a flip-flopper or wishy-washy. And I really think that when we keep that mentality in our head, we prevent ourselves from learning from other people. I like to think that I have an open mind. I try to have an open mind, actually. Because if I can't hear somebody else's side of an argument, I will never learn. I will never grow as a person, and I will never learn. You know, if the only information that I'm going to let into my head is people who just parrot my same feelings about stuff, I don't know. I think that's kind of the trap that we're getting ourselves into in general. So let me put it this way. I don't agree with everything that Anna has said, but the way she said it made me listen to her and made me change my thinking about one aspect of that. I was a little all ride or die with Jackie. I was maybe a little bit blind to the ways that Jackie could have been better in how she handled this. I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier in this recap. Anna is the one that helped me understand a little bit better. Because, yeah, there was a better analogy that she could have used. Less volatile, less triggering for Teresa. But the thing that I really kind of want to talk about is that Anna said, perhaps I'm touchy, but I think Jackie went too far. I loved that Anna was brave enough to say, maybe there's something about the way I'm coming at this that is affecting how I feel about it, because I think there's something I'm doing that's affecting how I'm coming about. And you know, the thing is, we all have our stuff, right? We all have our baggage. We all have our reasons why we determine whether we agree with this person or that person. It's all based on information from our own past, right? I think it's really interesting how one person can say something and it can be interpreted 10 different ways by 10 different people. It's the same words out of that person's mouth. So for me, when I keep defending the fact that all Jackie said was, your husband's in prison. She didn't pass judgment about him being in prison. She didn't tell people who didn't know he was in prison. I mean, there was nothing, I didn't think there was anything wrong with what she said. And I think it's because I've been working on something in my personal life. I have been working at just hearing what people say and taking it at face value. I'm working on not reading into things. Because sometimes you're wrong. When you think somebody meant something, that's not always the truth. If I think somebody said something and they were trying to hurt my feelings, I could be very wrong about that. So the fact that I've been working on just taking things at face value, I took it at face value. She saw that as a perfect analogy and a way for Teresa to finally understand why Melissa can't control her husband. And I thought, that's all it meant. There was no hidden meaning there because I'm working on that, you know. But I don't know Jackie. And some of you guys who think that she shouldn't have said that or that she said it to just like poke at Teresa, you could be right. Jackie may have known exactly what she was doing and sealing her spot for a season 2 for herself, you know? I don't know. I don't know her that well. I'm not flip-flopping. I've opened myself up to the possibility that Jackie may like to push the envelope a little bit, but I like it. I don't know these people in real life. I'm just a viewer. So if someone's going to do their part to make things interesting, I'm still all in. It's still fun for me to analyze things and question why somebody would do something, But I also do have to always remind myself that it's a TV show. First and foremost, it's a TV show. So entertaining me comes first. So thank you, Anna. I learned something and I loved your question. All right, guys, that's it for me. If you haven't yet subscribed to Jill Informed, please consider doing so. And if you liked this particular video, give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to add to the conversation, please leave a comment down below. I love to hear from you guys. I hope I see you next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Time for the next recap of The Real Housewives of New Jersey. Bye.